A lot of you guys have been asking us, why can't Muslims dye their hair black? Let us explain. Before we get into the actual explanation, we want to clarify something. We are not scholars, guys. So we are not going to be sharing rulings with you guys like you think we would. No, we're going to be sharing the opinion that we follow with you guys. This is our personal understanding of the matter, and this is what we personally follow. Now, getting to the actual topic. There is no specific reason that's given to us as to why we can't dye our hair black. We don't know the specific reasoning for why that doesn't happen. And to be honest, guys, for us, we do not need those specific reasons, because for us, it's enough that there are narrations. Narrations equals to hadith. There are hadith on the matter, and those hadith tell us that we shouldn't be dyeing our hair black. And that's honestly enough for me.
With that being said, scholars have offered interpretations on the use of black hair dye. However, for us, the narrations themselves are sufficient for a few reasons. So number one, whether we use black hair dye or not, it doesn't interfere with our day-to-day life. The second reason is, if you want to have a dark color in your hair, you can mix black hair dye with, say, a dark brown and still get that color.
Exactly, guys. There are options. But you might be wondering that we're avoiding something without even knowing the reason behind why we're avoiding it. So let's explain that part too.
Yeah, so when I first converted to Islam, there were, what I found I really liked about Islam was that 90 to 95% of the rulings in Islam, they all have explanations and reasonings behind it to either bring us close to God, keep us away from harm, keep us from imitating things that are impermissible in the religion, or like I said, could harm us, right? But there are the odd things, like for example, this black hair dye. If I ask what's the reasoning behind it, we may not have an understanding at this time as to why we shouldn't do it. But there's enough evidence and reasoning for all the other rulings in Islam where we just accept it and say, okay, there are narrations saying to not dye our hair black, so it suffices for us to just stay away from it.
Exactly. I mean, not everything needs to have a point for us to follow it, especially something like this. It's so minuscule in our life where we're just like, we don't really need a reason to avoid it. We'll avoid it just in case. I mean, it's possible that we can dye our hair black, but there's narration suggesting that we shouldn't. So we're just gonna stay away from it, just so we are on the safe side.
But now here's a question. What about people who are born with really dark or black appearing hair?
Well, I mean, if somebody is born with black hair, they can't really help that. So it's not going to be a problem, obviously, because they have black hair. The ruling is on dyeing your hair black, so it doesn't really matter for the people that are born with it.
Okay, but what about facial hair? Say I have like a black beard, I start getting grays, and I want to dye it black just to like cover the grays. Can I do that?
I'm pretty sure this applies to facial hair too, but I am not completely sure, so do not take my word on it, right? We're just going to avoid it altogether.
Yeah. Now we have a question for you guys. Can you think of any scenario or situation where we would have to dye our hair black?
I can't really think of one, so you guys can let us know in the comments.
Guys. I'm Captain Jack Swallows.
I don't know him.